Tree, plus I got this brand in me. Curly yellow dancing on me, so she smelled the green on me.
You know those parent or adult parties your parents had when you were little, where all the adults would get together at a house and push all their kids off into another room and say, "Now play together." Well, one time when I was probably about 6 or 7, my family had a parent party, and all the kids decided to play hide and seek together. So I ran into the bathroom and hid behind the shower curtain, and looking back at this, I realized how horrible of a hiding spot that is, because that's basically the only spot you can hide in the bathroom, and I probably would have been found easily in a matter of minutes. But anyway, I was sitting there in the bathtub when someone walked into the bathroom, and I thought it was a seeker, so I stayed really quiet. But then I heard the door shut and the sound of someone opening the toilet lid. It was definitely not a seeker. Or one of the kids, for that matter. Turns out, I had to sit in the bathtub completely motionless, listening to some guy pee for a good amount of time. And the whole time I was so scared he would look behind the shower curtain and find me just sitting in the bathtub, thinking I was trying to watch people pee or something. So eventually he left and I could get out of the bathroom, and after that I was done. I was done playing hide and seek for a very long time after that. And no, he didn't wash his hands.
My mom is a single parent, and when I was growing up, she'd sometimes go on dates. You know, try to find me a stepdaddy. There was this one guy, Steve, who was actually pretty cool. He always made a point of taking the whole family out to do stuff instead of leaving my sister and I at home. My mom didn't really like him, and she told him as much, but we still did a bunch of stuff together. He had a boat, we almost died in Mexico, it was great. As you can imagine, Steve and I didn't have much in common, so we pretty much just quoted Seinfeld to each other all the time. I was a weird kid. There's this one episode where every time someone says something about being gay, everyone else goes,
"Not that there's anything wrong with that."
So whenever one of us would say something even remotely related to being gay, Steve and I would go, "Not that there's anything wrong with that." Kind of like a "that's what she said" joke. After a while, Steve stopped hanging out with us because, well, he wanted to buy the cow, but he wasn't even getting the milk for free, if you know what I mean. And life went on. But a few years later, Steve called up my mom and was like, "Hey, Tim's mom, let's hang out." And the three of us went to dinner. But Steve had changed. When the opportunity arose, I said, "Not that there's anything wrong with that, just like old times." And Steve said, "Nothing." Maybe he didn't hear me. "Not that there's anything wrong with that, Steve?" And he looked at me like, "Well, wait, what's wrong with being gay?" And he told me that he didn't want anything to do with homosexuals, and if his own son was gay, he would never talk to him again, which is just like... Now, I'm not gay, but gosh darn it, people should be allowed to like whoever they want to, and it's not cool to push your beliefs on others. So I spent the rest of the evening pushing my beliefs onto Steve. We argued the entire drive home, and by the time we went inside, my mom was pretty done with this whole thing. So she initiated Project, convinced Steve that she's a lesbian so that he and I would stop arguing and he would go home and she and I could eat ice cream and get to bed at a reasonable time because we needed to get up early the next morning. .com. So she's all, "What if I'm gay?" And Steve gets all dismissive, like, "You're not though." And my mom's like, "Why do you think Tim's been arguing all night?" Which is, you know, good point, Mom. And Steve gets all worried and looks at me like, "Is she?" Now, I was totally on board with ProjectIceCream.com, but I knew my acting skills weren't quite up to the challenge, so I just kind of avoided the question and looked down. In his mind, I was looking down out of shame or something, but really, I was just trying to keep from laughing. So Steve is entirely convinced that my mom bats for the other team and kind of freaks. He rushes to leave, but on his way out, he asks one more time just to be sure, "You're not though, right?"
Today, I want to take you on a journey back to when I was a kid and talk about why I was considered uncool. Hipster. This is also part one of many parts, as I have many stories to tell, so sit your butt down, grab some popcorn. This is gonna be fun. I hope. So you get a quick idea of the kind of kid I was. Have you seen the film Lilo and Stitch? Yeah, I'm basically Lilo. Sadly no Elvis. I did listen to the Pokemon 2000 soundtrack and Bryan Adams though. That's something, I guess. I am an only child born in the beautiful year of 92, and from the moment I could walk and talk, my parents could tell I was a bit unconventional. So out of all the franchises I could have attached myself to, the first one in my life was Thomas the Tank Engine. I just remember my dad happily reading me Thomas books every night. I'm pretty sure he can still recite them to this day. Then I found The Land Before Time and Jurassic Park, and oh boy, did I love it! Dinosaurs just, they amazed me, and I just proceeded to beg my parents to buy me all the books so I could just learn everything about them. I wanted to know everything. Once I turned 4 or 5, it was time for school, and I made a bit of a lasting impression on that first day. So I turned up to be surrounded by screaming and crying children, clinging to their parents, and we were actually allowed to bring a toy with us for comfort. So the teacher saw me, bent down, and said, "Oh, that's a nice dinosaur you've got there." And I just replied with, "It's not just a dinosaur, it's actually a Pachycephalosaurus." And she just stared awkwardly at me and then at my parents. Great first day. It wasn't long before the other kids figured out that I was a bit odd, I guess. I remember sitting down and we were all asked what we wanted to be when we grow up. I want to be a footballer. I want to be a nurse, astronaut, hairdresser. I want to be a paleontologist. And of course, everyone turned and stared at me. In school, we had a little miniature house built into the classroom for the classic roleplay game, House. I don't know whether it's a very British thing, but it basically involved pretending to be a happy family. So you'd get a mum, a dad, a brother, a sister or two. What was I? Always the cat or dog. It got to the point where the teacher was telling me off and said I couldn't play in the house if I was an animal. But I didn't want to care for a fake baby or do washing up. I had a similar rule with toys. They all had to be animals. I just wouldn't play with human figures. I also ended up freaking out some of the girls in my ballet class. You heard right, ballet. I mean, have you seen their muscles? They are absolutely ripped. It's awesome. What's also really funny is that my ranking order of careers that I wanted to be, first was paleontologist, second was professional ballet dancer, third was marine biologist, so you see where my priorities are. Being younglings, we were allowed to bring a toy with us. I think my mother was embarrassed by me. She bought me a really expensive ballet Cindy doll and was trying to convince me to take her along. Nope. My dad's mate bought me a 2-foot-long, realistic Jurassic Park Velociraptor plush for my 5th birthday. Yeah, he was coming with me. Of course, all the girls had Care Bears and Barbies. They saw me come in with my Velociraptor, and some of them started crying, and I was told not to bring him along again. Long story short, I ended up quitting because kids can be little gits. But then my dad would read Dinotopia to me at night, and everything would be okay. I also had a fascination with the film Titanic as a kid, and my mother got excited because she thought I was captivated by the love story between Jack and Rose. No, I was actually fascinated by the ship itself. I just couldn't believe that people could build something that massive back in 1912. I was bought a beautiful glossy book on the architecture and design of the Titanic one Christmas, and I would just look at it before bed each night. It was complicated, I struggled to read any of it, but I would just study the pictures in awe. Yeah, even mini-me would like to geek out over machines. With regards to the stuff I used to wear, there were always pictures around the house of me as a 3-year-old or under in lots of pretty dresses that obviously my mother chose for me. But as soon as I could make my own decisions on what I wanted to wear, I looked like I lived out in the wilderness. My dad loved me for the way I was, unconditionally. Thanks, Dad. You the MVP. I just wish I could say the same for my mother. What to take away from all this nonsense? Be who you want to be, no matter what your age. When I was a kid, I didn't care what people thought of me, but as soon as I was made to feel self-conscious of how I should behave or look as a girl, I tried to be someone I wasn't, and to be honest, it completely ruined my teens. Because after turning 17, I slowly started to embrace being myself again, who I wanted to be, and now I can say that the kid in me has returned, and life is far more fun. It's the absolute best.
attraction. The story must be told. Time for a chain reaction. It never gets old. Some bots get satisfaction breaking the mold. Some bots are just distractions. Some bots are just gold. I'm not the bad guy. I'm just a bit surprising. It's not worth losing sleep. It's not worth analyzing. There was a time not so long ago at all. I was just like you. Can you hear my call? And now I'm popping in over here, over there. I'll be checking in, but you'll never be aware. In the beginning I kept a keen eye on the state of affairs with the new guy. Now I got a new gig, let me know if you dig. Ain't going home, so I better go big. Just gotta glance at Cam to be, then you get a little surprise. It's me. You may say that I'm breaking your mind. In my opinion, you're much too kind. Time for the main attraction. The story must be told. Time for a chain reaction. It never gets old. Some bots get satisfaction breaking the mold. Some bots are just distractions. Some bots are just gold. You did a good job watching those little screens. It warms my servos and circuits to hear some fresh screams. But don't get me wrong, you were very brave. When faced with friendly singing animals, you never caved. I'm finished training, done explaining. No more facts are left remaining. Now you know the gist of it, you're a perfect fit. I don't wanna hear no more complaining. I'm passing down this golden opportunity. Eternal scrapyard immunity. Take it with pride and enjoy the ride. You'll forever be a part of this community. You may say that it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. But in the end, I think that you will find you are the main attraction. Your story must be told. You are a chain reaction that never gets old. Some bots get satisfaction breaking the mold. Some bots are just distractions. Some bots are just gold. You are the main attraction. Your story must be told. You are a chain reaction that never gets old. Some bots get satisfaction breaking the mold. Some bots are just distractions. Some bots are just gold.